Welcome back. Time now for business news on the news at 10 with Melinda Kilami.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Many thanks, Kimba. Now, that picture we saw earlier in Abuja also plays out in Lagos, Edo, and Cross River State as traders complain of poor patronage while customers register displeasure over the hike in prices of goods and transport fare. Now, some blame it on the border closure by the federal government as well as preparations for the festive season.
It's a few hours to Christmas and the atmosphere at the popular Oyingbo market in Lagos is not as busy as it used to be. Traders who've been waiting anxiously for a huge turnout of customers seem not impressed as they lament low patronage, while buyers complain of hike in prices of goods, particularly rice.
Rice too cost. Before they buy rice, 10,000, 8,000. Now they say, oh, no buy foreign rice, they buy Nigerian rice. Now, 22,000.
Nigerian rice have stone, and foreign rice is very expensive. They say foreign rice 27,000, but last year it was not like this because of all this border stuff that closed.
Market no day. As they close border, everything conquers.
As in, things are very, very expensive. I don't know if it's the session period or what. Before Christmas period, it used to be very crowded. When you come to the market, you see a lot of people in the market buying. Even before the Christmas, you see people buying things. But now everything is just dry. Like, things are so very, very high.
In Calabar, the Cross River State capital, travelers lament the increase in transport fare, while drivers insist nothing has changed.
I'm going to Asaba from Calabar, and normally I pay about 3,500, but right now the price is about 5,000 naira.
I'll beg the federal government to just try and see how we can help us so that things will be okay for we, the masses, the citizens of Nigeria. We're not supposed to be suffering and smiling in our own country.
Some of the passengers who spoke to Channels Television in Benin City, the Edo State capital, wonder what may have necessitated the increase in transport fare as there is no fuel scarcity.
The transport is just too much. Why is it so now? There is no scarcity of fuel and still the transport is so high.
Now we don't about 3 vehicles. Nobody travel. Because for here to Asaba before it's 600, but now it's 1,000.
Traders and customers appeal to the relevant agencies to wade in so they can jolly during the season and cut down on costs.
Nigeria Securities and Exchange Commission has issued a new 96-page set of rules and sundry amendments in line with the Investments and Securities Act 2007. Now, the new rules are in relation to derivatives trading, central counterparty, the registration of fixed income existing securities, and amendments to rules of collective investment schemes. Under derivatives trading, the Securities Commission instructs exchanges to set position limits that will prevent participants and clients from holding positions large enough to control or manipulate the underlying assets of derivative instruments. The Securities Commission also released amendments to Rule 27 on fidelity bond and rule around minimum disclosure requirements expected on the website of public companies. It's just a few hours before Christmas Day, but the stock market remains negative, still wearing a long face for a second consecutive session as mixed sentiments dominate Tuesday's activities at the NSE. Ekaite has more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. With the absence of a Santa Claus rally at the stock market, investors extended sell pressure into Tuesday's session, which pulled the NSE's main index back slightly by 0.09%. The loss, which translates to about 11 billion naira drop in total value of listed equities, comes amid a mixed sectoral performance, while profit-taking from banking giants such as FBN Holdings, GT Bank, Zenith, and Stanbic contributed largely to the market's latest downturn. Similarly, the price chart recorded a negative margin of 10 advancers led by 9.72% gain on UPDC Real Estate Investment Trust share. against 12 decliners led by the 9.09% loss from La Union. Meanwhile, the total volume of shares traded for the day was higher by more than 50% in contrast to Monday's session at 324.40 million units in nearly 2,000 transactions, driven largely by the shares of La Union Insurance. The stock market will be closed on Wednesday and Thursday for the Christmas break. And that's the stock market report. I'm Ekaite Afia.
Many thanks, Ekaite. It's different strokes as the world's leading stock markets ended Christmas Eve with mixed performance after a thin trading and shorting session. Now let's take a look at those closing numbers. That's Business News. It's back to you, Gimba.
So easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Brilliant. Many thanks indeed, Melinda. Now, Eco Hotel and Suites is introducing simple Christmas crafts, including the baking class for children, as part of its tropical Christmas package. The hotel management thought to confirm its enriched hospitality for its customers by creating a magical experience for holiday makers and fun seekers looking for a perfect gift of a fantastic holiday.
The festive period just got more interesting with the Eco Hotel and Suites exciting package for young children, the Kids Bake Fest 2019. The baking class, which is the first of its kind, is giving these children an opportunity to create, engage and explore. The obviously excited children find the baking class fascinating as they learn how to decorate cupcakes with whipped cream and icing.
It's Christmas, it's a moment for joy and love. So I believe as a pastry chef that so let's do something for the kids by doing some cupcakes. I believe everyone will like cupcakes, so we decided to make a Christmas cupcakes, and it was a moment where all the kids were enjoying the moment and they were happy. So that's Christmas, and that's what we do in Eco Hotels.
Proud parents are also here to support their children. They believe the holidays should also include educational activities.
It's beautiful when you see children doing things outside of computers, their phones and everything, doing something with their hands. You know, I like it a lot. As much as possible, I try to reduce the amount of time my children spend on devices.
I wanted them to have fun. I've always been promising my kids, I'm going to bake for you. Mom is going to teach you how to bake, how to bake cake, but because of my schedule, it's been difficult for me to do that. So as soon as I heard of the Bake Fest, I was like, oh, this would be a good idea. And my daughter especially, she's been saying, Mommy, I'm going to bake a cake for you. Mommy, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to cook when it comes to food. She's a food person, so I'm like, okay, well, this is a good idea. Let me bring her.
This exclusive Eco Hotel Wonderland package is part of the tropical Christmas experience of families to unwind, relive Christmas memories and create new ones.
Aren't they just adorable? Our kids, the future of tomorrow. The Ivorian government has issued an arrest for a former rebel leader and candidate in next year's presidential election, Guillaume Soro. Mr. Soro was due to return home, having spent more than 6 months overseas, as news of the warrant filtered. Here's Amarachi Ubani with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to Around the World in 5. U.S. Republican and Democratic leaders have clashed over what could be rules for President Donald Trump's impeachment trial. Democrats say they want assurances that witnesses and documents will be allowed in the trial to enable what they term a fair one. Leader Chuck Schumer says the recent release of an explosive email about aid to Ukraine is a reminder of why openness is necessary. But Republican leader Mitch McConnell says he has not ruled out witnesses.
That reflects well on the House.
U.S. President Donald Trump says one of his greatest achievements as president will be to exact revenge on his political enemies. Speaking with reporters at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, the U.S. president did not specify of whom he was referring.
But these were dirty people, these were bad people, these were evil people, and I hope that someday I'm going to consider it my greatest or one of my greatest achievements, getting rid of them. Because we have no place in our country for people like that.
Meanwhile, the Indian government has approved a new population register despite ongoing protests against a new citizenship law that has been criticized for being anti-Muslim. The country's national population register is expected to create a list of all people living in the country and help formulate policies. Protests are being held across the country, but the government says the law will protect religious minorities fleeing persecution, offering amnesty to non-Muslim illegal immigrants from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Hong Kong riot police have clashed with protesters in shopping malls Christmas Eve in a prime tourist district. Government rallies escalated into chaos. Protesters inside the malls threw umbrellas and other objects at police, who responded by beating some demonstrators with batons, with one pointing his gun at the crowd but not firing. Police fired tear gas to disperse protesters who had occupied the main roads and blocked traffic outside the malls and nearby luxury hotels, including the Peninsula in the Tsim Sha Tsui tourist district of Kowloon. An arrest warrant has been issued for former Ivorian rebel leader and candidate in next year's presidential election, Guillaume Soro. Sources say the warrant charges Soro with trying to destabilize the country and misusing public funds, but providing no further details. A police spokesman said he did not know about the warrant. 47-year-old Soro once led rebels who tried and failed to oust then-President Laurent Gbagbo in 2002. His forces installed Alassane Ouattara in the presidency during the civil war that followed the 2010 election, fought largely along regional and ethnic lines. The leaders of Japan and South Korea have met for the first time in more than a year and stressed the need to improve ties after the worst period of tension between their countries in decades. South Korea's President Moon Jae-in and Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe met on the sidelines of a trilateral summit with the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang in the Chinese city of Chengdu, with tension over stalled denuclearization talks between North Korea and the United States the main issue. Mr. Abe said he's willing to improve the relationship with South Korea by all means, while Mr. Moon said he looked forward to coming up with wise solutions to issues such as export control as soon as possible. The meeting was an opportunity for both countries to patch ties that plummeted after South Korea's Supreme Court last year ordered Japanese firms to compensate South Koreans forced to work for them during Japan's 1910 to 1945 colonial rule. Tens of thousands face travel misery this Christmas in France as transport strikes continue, entering their 20th day. 2 weeks of nationwide industrial action against the French President Emmanuel Macron's pension reform, which could scrap special regimes for sectors like the railways and make people work till the age of 64 to draw a full pension, have crippled train services. And finally, Britain's Prince Philip will be spending Christmas with the rest of the royal family after all. The 98-year-old has left a London hospital where he had been receiving treatment since Friday as a precautionary measure for a pre-existing condition. He's expected to join other members of the royal family for their festive celebrations at the Sandringham Estate in eastern England. And that's your international news around the world in 5.
Brilliant. Still ahead on the news at 10, Tottenham fail with the appeal against Heung-min Son's red card received in Sunday's 2-0 defeat to Chelsea. That's in sports news. Stay with us.